Hello and all right. Hello and welcome to my GitHub tutorial. Um, I literally just learned how to use GitHub today, and I thought it was super important to make a video about this because GitHub is not intuitive at all, and I think that more people should be using it. So this is my attempt to get people to use it, and by making it pretty simple to use. um, the documentation on GitHub is pretty confusing as to exactly what you're doing with each of these commands, and everybody kind of knows that GitHub is not intuitive at all. So I'm gonna try and break it down into the simplest way that I can, um, while I'm still sort of naive about it, so that hopefully I can explain it in a way that everybody can understand, while I'm still learning it. But in order to understand what GitHub is, I really recommend that you at least have a basic knowledge of the terminal. And if you don't even know what the terminal is on your computer, then I would suggest starting there. Um, you need to at least know how to navigate using CD and ls. And I would just have a basic understanding of what a command is. But other than that, you don't really need to know any other specific commands other than how to navigate, because the rest of the commands that we're going to be using are going to be git commands, which I'm going to go over in this video anyway. So as long as you really know how to navigate, you should be fine. And then just a basic understanding of what a cloud service is. What I mean by that is I didn't really understand the purpose of GitHub until I really tried to put my code in a bunch of different places. So what I was doing for a while was I was uploading my code to a Google Drive, and then I was going to the other computer that I was working at and downloading the code from the Google Drive to that computer, and then I was making changes at that computer, and then replacing the changed code with the original, or I was replacing the original code on the Google Drive with the changed code that I had made. And so I was sort of pushing and pulling it from the Google Drive. And then I realized that that is pretty much what GitHub is. If you're going to be coding on multiple different computers, the GitHub doesn't make it easy, but it's a very standardized way of doing that exact process. So I would at least have some sort of understanding of why those things are important, or why it makes it easier to have something like this. Just because it'll make understanding these concepts much easier. But if you don't understand why that's important, you can still learn it. It's not gonna inhibit your ability to learn. So what is GitHub? It's basically just a master copy of your code. Um, if you ever make changes to your code somewhere else, or if you're working on multiple different computers, it's just a place where you can always be leaving the finished product of where you left off, so that no matter where you start again, if you want to work on a new computer, that you can just pull your code from there, work on it, and then push it back. So it's just a master copy. It also makes your code accessible to everyone. This is really cool when people want to start developing packages. So if you create a package for JavaScript, and you want to share that with people, people can look and see how your package works, and then they can also make suggestions for changes, or they can collaborate with you. If you're ever working on a team, a team where you're coding with other people, you'll absolutely use GitHub or some other I think the other one is SVN. but I know GitHub is probably the most popular. Um, so it's like really, really important in collaborating as far as like how to like manage merging conflicts. Like I don't totally understand that just yet, but I know that like there are ways to like make it all super easy so that you can like really like work with anyone and you're all kind of always on the same page, and like it won't let you make commits and things and add things until like everybody's sort of approved it and things like that. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but yeah, that's pretty much what GitHub is. Um, so these are like the basic commands that you'll be using to um, like navigate GitHub, and these are the ones that we'll just go over today. I know that there's like a lot more to do, but for us like noobs that like we've never used GitHub before and like we just want to understand it, like these are really just the ones that you need to understand first. Um, and so yeah, we'll go over what all of these mean, but just as like a reference, if you want to um, like go back to this video and like just look at what the commands are, and try and just like understand what each of them are. Like I realized like I just didn't have this when I was trying to learn how to do it, so I wanted to provide just like the basic commands. Um, so git and init, basically, well, yeah, I'll sort of like go through this first. Um, I didn't really have a structured plan for this video, so I'm just kind of winging it. But git init is the command that you're going to use when you want to take a folder that you have on your computer and you want to turn that folder into like a repository. So a repository is like the name of the place where you store like a group of code in your GitHub account. So you'll have like a list of repositories and each one will be like a different project. So if you want to create a new repository, what you'll do is you'll navigate to that folder on your terminal by using like cd, and then once you're in that folder and you want to turn it into like a Git repository, you do git init, and that will add like a little file to that folder, and it'll turn that folder into a repository. And then you can start adding things and committing things and pushing things to the master, and then you can like start creating branches. But it all starts with just like creating a repository. So let's actually just like do that, and because I want to like show you guys exactly how all of this like works, because it's like it gets really confusing really fast. So let's pull up a terminal here. So let's create a new folder on our desktop. So let's go to our desktop and let's do folder, do git test, and then let's get, we want to go to that folder, and if we ls, which if you don't know, ls just lists all of the files that are in your folder that you're in. So right now there's no files in here, so let's create a few files and maybe a folder. So we'll do touch creates a new file, so we'll do touch index dot, let's create like an HTML file. We'll do touch index dot, we'll do a JavaScript file, and then we'll create a folder. mkdir creates a folder. Do mkdir, and we'll do like an images folder. So this would be like a standard structure for like building a website. I guess let's create a CSS file as well then, I guess. So now if we do our ls, so now we have these files and a folder. So what we want to do now is we want to, so here's the folder that I just created. So now it's just like sitting on my desktop. So what I want to do is I want to turn this folder with like these files in it into like a repository because I've like created them here. And if I like go in here, let's actually, yeah, let's go into this and let's open it with like VS Code, just to show you that like this is like how you would do it. So let's say I like started this new project and I just started writing like an HTML file. And I don't know, I've got the heading with this is my new repository, yay. And let's throw a hello world in there just for the sake of that's apparently how all coding people do it. So now we've got a file with some text in it, and we've got other files in a folder, and we want to put all of this, we want to connect all of this to our GitHub account. So I will pull up my GitHub account, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my repositories, and so this is a list of like the repositories that I have. So what I want to do is I want to create a new repository that's going to store like these files that I just created. But this has not been initialized yet. So there are two ways that we can do this. We can either start our repository here and then we can clone it to our like desktop or wherever we want to put it. But we already have like a set of files that we just want to place into a new repository. But we can go over both. But let's just say we have our files already and we just say like, I've already created my new project and now I just want to create a representation of that project in my GitHub. So what I do is I click new repository, or just new. I name it, so I'll name it like git test, same as my folder. This is a test. And then, okay, so basically what these things mean is like public just means that anybody can view your repository. Private means that only like the people who are attached to this project can view the repository. I'm pretty sure you have to pay to make things private. Yeah, so you have to pay to make things private. It doesn't really matter unless you're like working on a high level like project. Being public, like there's no downsides to it. It just encourages people to like share their projects. And then initialize this repository with a README. This basically is like what I was talking about, where like you can clone it to your computer if you want to start your project here. But we already have a project going. We just want to like create that project into our GitHub where we're creating our repository. So we don't need to do this. So let's create the repository. And then it gives you a bunch of this stuff that probably doesn't make any sense. So this right here is what you would grab if you wanted to clone your repository to your computer. So let's say we didn't have this folder right here and we wanted to create a new one that was the repository. What we would do is we would take this link, we would copy it, and then we would go to our thing here and we would cd to our desktop, and then we would say git clone. So this is just a git command that creates the repository, and then you would paste in that link, and then that would initialize the repository into your desktop, and then it would create this folder here. It wouldn't have the files in it. It wouldn't have like these files in it because obviously like we created these files in this folder. But what I'm saying is like it would create a new folder that would be named git test because that's what we named our repository, and it would like place it on your desktop because that's where we are navigated to right now. So, but we don't want to do that because we already have our file. Oh gosh. So what we want to do is we want to get into our folder. So now we have our files in there. So what we want to do now that we have created our repository in our GitHub account, what we want to do now is we want to initialize it here. So right now this is just a folder. Like this is just a normal like Mac folder that you can do like whatever in. But when I initialize it into a repository, what's going to happen is you're going to get like a little like grayed out file right here. And that file is going to be called .git. And that basically just tells you that this has now been identified as a repository and it is now connected to your GitHub account over here where you can like push and pull it from. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to get that .git folder. So the way that you do that is you get into your folder, you navigate to your folder, and then you just do git init, and that initializes your repository. And now see, we got our .git thing that tells us that this is now a repository. So right now, this folder knows that it's a repository, and it knows that it's connected to this repository, which is on your thing. They're not two different repositories. They are now just like connected. But what you want to do now is you want to start tracking these files, and then you want to commit them, which just means you want to like basically acknowledge. Well, adding them means you like acknowledge their presence and you're tracking them now. Commit means you are now happy with your changes and you are making those changes here. And then to push your changes means to actually take them from here and place them in here. And so the push will actually change what shows up in your repository. So I'll kind of go through that again as we're going through this because we still need to kind of connect them. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add all of these files, which just means that we need to start tracking them basically. So what we do is we do git add, and you can do this one of two ways, and we'll do it both ways. So we'll do git add, and then you just do the name of the file. So you can do index.js. So right now we're just adding index.js, and now it knows to track that file. And then you would take that file and you would commit the changes. So you would do git commit, and then anytime you do a commit, you need to add a message. So you do -m, which just means message, and then in quotes you have to place a message in order for it to go through. So you would do let's just say like first file has been added. And so now we've basically told our repository, okay, we are okay with this file. Like we know that this file is like good. So then you would, now your repository in here knows that index.js is good. And so the next time you do your push to your master, the things that have been committed will go into your master, which this is like your master. So what you do now is you just do git push, and then you need to specify where you want to push it to. So you would do, now you do origin, which just means like you're going to push it to a specific branch. So you can have like multiple branches. Right now all we have is a master branch on here, but that gets like really complicated when you want to like have multiple branches and merge them, and like for right now we only have like a master branch, so our origin will just like always be our master, You have the correct access rights and the repository exists. Oh, we need to do this. So what we want to do is we need to, oh, okay, so this is the command that actually connects your repository in like this folder to the repository on your actual GitHub account. So what this does is this creates, like, this is kind of what we were just doing, right? Like we were initializing it, we were adding a new file, and then we like committed something, and then this is the exact same code as this. So basically all we need to do is we need to just grab this code. This is just going to like add the origin of this folder to your actual GitHub account. And then it's going to push whatever has been committed to that account. So we'll just copy that, paste that in, and then so that should, if I am correct, yep. So everything that was committed has been added, and now we have this index.js file, but it has no text in it. It's just a file. It's just a blank file. So now we want to put the rest of our, now that we know that they're connected and now that we know that like it all works, now let's add the rest of our files. So we still need to commit and push. We need to still add, commit, and push all of these things. And this is just, this images folder is just to show you that it works the same for folders as it does for files. So what you can do if you want to add like everything is you just do git add, and then you just do a period, and that period is just like a wild card, like it adds everything that hasn't been added, and then you do your git commit, and then you add a message. So your commit adds everything, or your commit commits everything that's been added. So I know that gets confusing, but if you notice, like the last time that we did our git commit, we didn't tell it which files to commit. We just did git commit. So it only commits the things that you've added, because we only added this index.js file. So when we did our git commit, we said, okay, we are okay with all of the files that have been added. So now when we do our git commit, and we add our message, the rest of the files, now when we do our commit, the rest of these files, like these three, will now get committed because we added all of them. So we do that. And so now if we look at this, it says that we created, or we changed 2 files with 15 insertions. So 15 insertions is probably just like tracking the text that was written into index.html. And so now what we want to do, now that all of our things have been committed, now we want to push it to the master, which is right here. So right now they're not showing up. Like if we reload it, they're not showing up. So now we need to take them from their commit to the master. So now we do git push origin master. And now they should be here if I reload. Awesome. And now all of those files are right here. And I don't know why it didn't work for this folder, because I did this earlier with a folder and it was able to push it to the master. I don't know. Maybe it was because there's nothing in it, but I don't know. Anyway, it's not a big deal. I don't know for right now. I assumed that worked. Okay, so now that we have our files in our GitHub master. Let's say that we are on a new computer that doesn't have these files, and we want to grab them, and we want to start working on them from a computer, or from a different computer. So let's go over here, let's quit out of that terminal, let's close this, and we'll close down GitHub. So our files exist here, right, in this Git repository. So this is not actually like where your files are like held as a master. Like I can change them here. Like I could open this up and I could like make changes on this index.html, and it won't change what happens in the master. So let's say I put in like an h2 and I say like this, these are my second changes to the file. So if I save that, and let's close that down. So I made changes to the index.html, and if we, oh shoot, hate clicking on the wrong application. Come on. Oh, geez. Wow, that's ridiculous. Okay, well, that was a lot, and it's still gonna open. Okay. Let's quit out of Excel. Let's go to our GitHub. And so we want to see the repository that we created. So this is git test. It was our index.html file. So if you look at it, like the changes don't actually get made to the master, because this is just like where you work on it, right? And so this is just to show you that like these things are separate. Like they're not 100% connected. You just take things from this file and push them to here, and that'll change it. But this in itself, like you can make changes to the raw file like on this GitHub by like clicking here, and you can do like let's do another Jesus, there are no shortcuts. We'll do like, I don't know, these are my third changes. I hate not having shortcuts. Okay, so now we have that, and commit change. Oh, well, you need to, oh, it didn't make me write a comment. Yeah, so you can do it that way, and now this file is like saved as your master as having like this change to it, but it's like, so this says the third changes, but in here it still says these are my second changes. So they're not totally connected, they're just connected in that you can push and pull from those places. So let's say we are at our new computer and we want to create that repository so that we can work on it from this new computer. So let's delete git test. So now our computer has no idea what that repository is. We have to sort of make it understand that it's connected to that somehow. So we go to our GitHub. Go to our repositories, go to our git test, and now what we want to do is we want to clone our repository here to our computer. So we do clone or download, and we copy this link, and then we go to our terminal and we navigate to wherever we want to place the repository. So let's go to our desktop. And so we do git clone, remember this git clone command, and then we place that link in, and now we've initialized that repository that exists in our like cloud thing here. Now we've placed it on our computer. So if we close the terminal, we can open this up, and if this works, this should tell us that it's made the third changes, right? Because that's where we changed the raw files on our repository. So this is just an HTML file. That's why it opened up in the browser. But yeah, that's basically how that works. So you can create other branches too. I'll like quickly go over that. Branches like get kind of confusing because they just are, and like that's just the nature of them. But the reason you would use a branch is because imagine that you're working on this project, right? And you want to make changes to like this CSS file. And you are like kind of scared because what you want to do is you want to like play around with it for a while, and like you're not totally sure of the changes you want to make, and like you're going to be kind of like testing. And anytime you do a testing, any sort of testing, you don't really want to be working on like this master copy, like on the raw file of the master copy. You want to be like in a testing environment where you can try a lot of things and not worry about like deleting the file or like doing something stupid. So in GitHub, the failsafe for that is you would create a branch, which is basically like your testing environment. So if I remember correctly, let me double check. I just want to make sure that I have the right commands for this. GitHub. Where did I place this? So I just forgot the command that lets you create a new branch. You can just Google it here real quick. I think this was the link that I looked at. Yeah. So, all right. So here's what you would do if you wanted to like create that testing environment, and then like merge your changes into your master. So what you would do is you go to your terminal, and you would go to cd git test. Okay, so now we're in our folder, which has been initialized as our Git repository. So it has this .git folder, which just tells us that it's like, a repository. And then we want to, here we can check the status of it, which git status just gives us information as to like what things need to be added and like what things need to be committed. What needs to be pushed to the master. So our branch is up to date with the origin master, and then there's nothing to commit, and the working tree is clean. So right now we know that if we open this, it's going to be the exact same as it looks on the GitHub repository, basically. So right now we are currently on the master branch. So what we want to do is we want to create a new branch, which will be like our testing environment, where we can use the same files that are in the master branch, but we're not changing them just yet. So the command for creating a new branch is git checkout, and then you do -b. I assume it stands for branch. So checkout allows you to change the current branch that you're in. And then -b means that you're going to like create a new branch. So we do -b let's say we'll just call it our second branch, or we'll just call it our test branch. So now it tells us that we've switched to a new branch called test. So now what we want to do, let's see, what do we want to do? Well, first I can just show you the way you switch between branches. You do git checkout master, and now we've switched to our master branch. It tells us that right here. But we want to go to our test branch. So now we switch to our test branch, and now when we make changes to these files, they will only be changed if we commit them. They will only be changed in our test branch. So if I here do like, these are my test branch changes. So, and then I don't want to commit these to master branch yet. So if we save that, so now what we want to do is we want to push these to our test branch. So what we would do, we can do git add, we add all the files, git commit -m, give it a message, we'll say made changes to test branch, and then we can do our git push, and then when we do our origin, we'll only push it to the test branch. So normally we would do git push origin master, which would push everything to our master branch, but we want to push everything to our test branch. So now once we do that, now we've pushed everything into our test branch. Now if we go to our GitHub account, and we go to our git test. So see, our test branch is created. So the way that you switch between branches is there's like a little drop down thing right here. So if we look at our master branch, so we have our test branch and our master branch. So right now we're in our master branch, and if we open this index.html file, we should be able to see something that says like, these are my second changes or these are my third changes. But remember that when we made changes in our test branch, we said these are our test branch changes, and that we didn't want to commit these to our master branch yet. So if we open this index.html file, so these are my third changes, but if I go back to here and I click on the test branch, now I'm in the test branch and I open the index.html file. These are my test branch changes, and I don't want to commit these changes to the master branch yet. So now let's say we've decided that these are the changes that we want to make to this file, and we want to place the test branch changes into our master branch. So what you do is you go over here and you make sure that obviously you are in your repository folder, and you switch to the branch that you want to make the changes to. So here we want to make the changes to the master branch. So we do git checkout, which changes the branch that we're currently in. Do git checkout master. So we want to navigate to the master branch. And now we want to take the changes from our test branch and basically pull them into the master branch and say like, okay, now this is like what we've decided is the master branch now. So we do git merge, and then you specify a branch that you want to pull the changes from. So git merge test, and then it tells you that it made like 3 changes to this index.html thing. And so now what you want to do is you want to, I'm pretty sure you still have to commit them, or let's do git status, and it'll tell us. So your branch is ahead of the origin master by 1 commit, so use git push to publish your local commits. So right now, basically that like what we just did is I guess we like committed them, and so now we just need to push it to our like actual GitHub account. So we need to do git push origin master because we're pushing it to the master branch. And now we are in our master branch, and we open the index.html file, and now we see that in the master branch we've made our test branch changes. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go over. I know that GitHub is like super complex, and I'm probably doing a horrible job of explaining it because I literally learned it today. But if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to like answer them if I can, and like if you want to learn how to do something else, I would be more than happy to like go research how to do it and make another video on it. But this is just like for a basic understanding of how to do normal GitHub stuff. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to keep doing more videos like this for GitHub and for MATLAB tutorials, and I'm going to start doing some JavaScript and HTML and CSS tutorials as well. But if you like that content, stick around. But for now, thanks for watching.